They mocked him with a paralyzed bride, but the cowboy lifted her above everyone else. The sun hung low over the twin moons of Virlia, casting a pale golden light across the sprawling alien city. Towering buildings of shimmering crystal and polished metal reflected the fading sun, giving the entire metropolis an ethereal glow. The streets were alive with creatures of every shape and size, most of them unfamiliar to any human eye. Tentacles, wings, and glowing eyes moved in harmony, yet with a strange, confident chaos that humans had yet to understand. Among all this alien splendor, a lone figure rode into the city on a dusty, rugged hoverbike. His coat flapped gently in the evening breeze, and his hat shaded a face weathered by years of sun, wind, and long rides across forgotten worlds. This was Jace Whitman, a cowboy not just by name but by spirit. He carried with him something even more precious than any treasure, his bride, Leora. Leora's presence was quiet but commanding. She sat in a custom hover chair that hummed softly beneath her, a gentle reminder that she could not walk on her own. An accident on a distant mining colony had left her paralyzed, yet her sharp eyes missed nothing. She took in the alien city with a mixture of awe and subtle suspicion, her mind racing to understand the strange customs and faces around her. The city's inhabitants noticed them immediately. A ripple of curiosity, mixed with amusement, passed through the crowd. Aliens whispered and gestured at the human couple. Their voices were musical, strange, almost like wind chimes combined with soft chattering. Jace knew what was coming. These beings had seen humans before, and the result was always the same: mockery, underestimation, or outright dismissal. "Look at him," hissed one of the taller aliens, its skin shifting colors like a living rainbow, carrying that fragile creature. How pathetic! Leora's face remained serene, her hands folded in her lap, but she felt the sting of their judgment anyway. It was not the first time she had been stared at, nor would it be the last. Jace's jaw tightened, but he made no reply. Instead, he steered his hoverbike through the winding streets, past towering statues of alien heroes and across bridges that sparkled under the light of the twin moons. He had faced worse than sneers and alien laughter before. What mattered most was Leora's safety, and showing the world that her disability did not make her weak. The couple arrived at the central plaza, the heart of the city, where a large audience had already gathered. A massive platform, polished like liquid glass, awaited them. Hovering drones circled above, projecting holographic symbols and alien slogans. The atmosphere was thick with expectation. Jace dismounted and gently transferred Leora from the hoverbike to a small platform with levitation support. It raised her a few inches off the ground, making her visible to the crowd. The aliens chuckled, some pointing, others whispering in disbelief. "Do they not see that she cannot even stand?" one alien whispered. "And he dares to bring her here." Jace's lips curved in a faint, almost imperceptible smile. He stepped back, giving Leora space, yet his presence was steady, strong, and unyielding. Leora's eyes sparkled with quiet determination. She did not need to move her legs to prove her strength. She had a mind as sharp as any alien intellect present, and she was about to show it. A tall, blue-skinned alien with multiple arms approached the podium. Its voice boomed across the plaza, amplified by technology that made even humans' ears ache. "Welcome, human Jace Whitman and your companion," it said with a sneer. "We have gathered to see if you are worthy of our games. Do not embarrass yourselves." The crowd laughed, a mixture of high-pitched chirps, musical tones, and guttural rumbles. Jace's hands rested on the brim of his hat. He did not flinch. Leora's eyes met his, and a silent understanding passed between them. They would face this challenge together, and they would not bow to ridicule. "Games?" Jace said softly, almost to himself. "We've faced plenty back home." He knew these were no ordinary games. These aliens thrived on competition, showcasing intellect, agility, and problem-solving skills. Most humans failed before they even began, but Jace and Leora were no ordinary humans. The first part of the contest was simple in appearance, but deceptively difficult. A series of floating platforms hovered over a shallow pool of iridescent liquid. Each platform carried a puzzle, a complex combination of shapes and symbols that required both logic and intuition to solve. The crowd watched eagerly, expecting the human to fail. Jace looked at Leora, then at the puzzle. "Your turn," he said. Leora's eyes brightened. She leaned forward slightly, her hands hovering over the control panel on her hover chair. Despite her paralysis, her fingers moved with precision, guiding holographic pieces into their correct positions. The aliens murmured in surprise. One of the judges, a tentacled elder with eyes like molten gold, raised a clawed hand. "She solves it with ease," it muttered. "Yes," Jace said simply. "She just needs the chance." The next part of the challenge tested physical skill, or at least that's what the aliens believed. Platforms began to rise and fall, and participants were expected to leap from one to the next. Jace's height and strength gave him an advantage. Leora, safely secured in her hover platform, provided guidance, calling out instructions to time his jumps precisely. Step by step, Jace moved with the grace of someone who had spent a lifetime riding through difficult terrain. He leapt, landed, and balanced perfectly, all while listening to Leora's calm, precise directions. The aliens' confidence wavered as the human duo made steady progress. "Impossible," whispered one of the critics. No human could move like that, and yet, by the time they reached the end of the floating platforms, the crowd had grown silent. Even the sneering host seemed uncertain, his multi-armed gestures faltering. Jace helped Leora off her hover platform, placing a supportive hand on her shoulder. "We're just getting started," he said with a grin. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the city's lights flickered on, bathing the plaza in hues of green, purple, and blue. The aliens prepared the next phase, but Jace and Leora had already made a statement. Humans, they realized, were unpredictable, resilient, clever, and the bond between Jace and Leora made them unstoppable in ways the aliens could not yet measure. Walking through the plaza, Jace noticed the subtle shifts in the crowd. Some were no longer laughing, they were watching with curiosity. Others, still skeptical, could not hide the flicker of respect. Leora smiled, her eyes scanning the crowd. "I think they're learning something about us," she said softly. "Yes," Jace replied, tipping his hat, "and they've only seen the beginning." For the first time since they entered Vyrlia, they felt the stirrings of possibility. The aliens might be advanced, but humans had a way of turning the impossible into ordinary. And together, Jace and Leora were about to show the city what it meant to rise above mockery, to turn weakness into strength, and to prove that courage and love were more powerful than any technology or spectacle. The first night in Vyrlia ended with a quiet triumph. They had not yet faced the full challenge, but they had already begun to change perceptions. And as the twin moons reflected off the crystalline towers, Jace and Leora knew one thing for certain. The city had never seen humans like them before, and it would not forget them. The morning light on Vyrlia spilled over the city like liquid silver. Twin moons, now fading, still hovered faintly in the sky, casting a soft glow over the crystalline towers. The plaza, which had been full of spectators the night before, was now bustling with activity. Hovering platforms, puzzles, and obstacle courses were being prepared for the next stage of the contest. Jace Whitman adjusted the brim of his hat as he helped Leora onto her hover platform. She was calm, but her eyes were bright with anticipation. "Ready for another round?" he asked. "Always," Leora replied, her voice steady. "They don't know what we can do together." The crowd had grown since yesterday. Aliens of all shapes and sizes gathered, curious to see the human pair again. Some were still whispering in disbelief about Leora's skill with the puzzle the night before. Others were openly skeptical. The tallest among them, A multi-eyed alien named Grivak strutted to the podium and spread his arms wide. "Today's challenge," Grivak announced, "is not just a test of mind but also of balance, timing, and adaptability. Only those worthy may proceed." Jace and Leora exchanged a glance. This sounded complicated, but they were ready. The first part of the challenge was a maze. Not an ordinary maze, but one that floated above the city streets. Platforms moved slowly in patterns, some disappearing entirely for brief moments. The participants had to navigate from start to finish without falling off, all while solving small puzzles embedded in the path. Many aliens began first. They moved quickly, but often with hesitation. Their rigid understanding of physics made them predictable. Jace, however, observed patiently, letting Leora guide him through her telepathic connection. She might not walk, but she could sense patterns, timing, and rhythm with unmatched clarity. Step by step, Jace followed Leora's guidance. He balanced on narrow platforms, leapt with perfect timing, and even paused mid-step when Leora directed him to wait. The crowd gasped as he moved in ways no alien had expected. "Impossible," muttered one of the alien spectators. "A human navigating like that without error." "Not without help," Grivek said, his voice tinged with irritation. "She is directing him." "Exactly," Jace replied aloud. "We work together, that's what makes us strong." By the time they reached the end of the floating maze, several aliens had stumbled or fallen. Some looked frustrated, others were simply amazed. Leora smiled proudly at Jace. "See, we're just getting started." The next challenge tested memory and observation. Holographic symbols flashed across floating screens, changing rapidly. Participants were required to memorize sequences and input them in the correct order. Most aliens relied on technology, trying to scan and record the symbols. Jace shook his head. "Too mechanical," he said softly. "Watch them, then trust your instincts." Leora concentrated, her mind scanning the sequence of symbols. She directed Jace, who repeated them with care. Step by step, their progress was perfect, precise, and unflappable. The aliens watching whispered among themselves. "This human is not just lucky," one alien said. "They think differently." "That is the point," Jace said to Leora as they finished the task. "Humans see solutions where others see limits." The third stage tested patience and creativity. Participants were given strange objects, some soft, some rigid, some glowing, and were asked to build a bridge capable of carrying their own weight across a small gap. Most aliens tried to calculate precise angles and forces, using advanced tools and formulas. Jace simply studied the objects. He picked up a lightweight frame, draped a flexible material over it, and balanced it carefully. Leora guided him verbally, suggesting adjustments. Slowly but surely, the bridge took shape. By the end, it was stable, functional, and elegant in its simplicity. The crowd was quiet, not because they were bored, but because they were watching something remarkable. Humans, it seemed, approached challenges differently, not blindly calculating, but combining observation, instinct, and creativity. "Perhaps there is more to humans than we assumed," muttered a young alien watching from the edge of the plaza. "Indeed," another replied. "And this human woman, she is brilliant, not limited by her body at all." Jace and Leora paused to breathe. They could feel the tension in the plaza, a mixture of skepticism and growing respect. But the biggest test had yet to come. The final stage for the day was called the Path of Harmony. It required not just skill, but coordination, trust, and timing. Participants had to move across a series of spinning discs and floating platforms, all while holding onto a partner. Falling meant failure. Jace smiled. "This one is ours," he said. Leora nodded. They stepped onto the first platform. The discs began to spin, some clockwise, some counterclockwise. Leora called out adjustments, timing, and subtle movements. Jace followed without hesitation, trusting her guidance completely. The crowd gasped as they moved with near-perfect harmony. The discs spun faster. Obstacles appeared. And still, Jace and Leora moved as one. No alien had attempted the challenge with a partner in this way, and none had succeeded. "Watch them," a young alien shouted to the audience. They are synchronized." Even Grivak's eyes widened. The proud alien leader rarely admitted surprise, but today he had no choice. Humans, it seemed, had an intuition that no alien technology could replicate. When they finally reached the end of the path of harmony, the plaza erupted, not in laughter but in awe. Aliens whispered, pointed, and stared. Humans, it seemed, were unpredictable, resilient, and when they worked together, they could achieve the impossible. Jace helped Leora back onto her hover platform. She laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We did it," she said. "Yes," Jace replied, looking around at the silent, respectful crowd. "And tomorrow will be even more interesting." As the sun set, the city's colors shifted to deep purples and blues. The plaza emptied slowly, but whispers followed them wherever they went. Aliens talked about humans in ways they had never done before, not as weak, not as fragile, but as capable, clever, and unpredictable. Leora looked at Jace. "Do you think they understand?" "Not yet," he said, tipping his hat. "But they're learning, and that's the first step." They walked together through the glowing streets, hover platform humming softly beneath Leora. The city seemed alive in a new way. Humans had arrived, not just as visitors but as challengers, proving that courage, intelligence, and teamwork were powerful in ways no one had expected. As night fell over Virlia, the stars reflecting in the crystalline towers, Jace and Leora prepared for the next day. They did not know what the aliens would throw at them next, but one thing was certain. Together, they could face anything. And the city had already begun to see humans in a new light, capable, clever, and, most importantly, worthy of respect. The morning sun rose slowly over Virlia, reflecting off the crystalline towers and turning the city into a world of sparkling light. Jace Whitman adjusted the brim of his hat, squinting against the glare. Leora's hover platform hummed softly as she glided beside him, her eyes scanning the city with quiet focus. Today was the third day of the contest, and the challenges would be more complex than ever. The aliens had already witnessed the humans' surprising skill, and the whispers from the crowd had grown louder overnight. Some were skeptical, but many were curious. It seemed that humans were capable of things the aliens had never considered. The couple arrived at the Grand Plaza, which had been transformed for the next challenge. Giant, rotating platforms hovered above the ground, connected by thin energy bridges that pulsed with light. Suspended holograms displayed symbols and patterns that shifted constantly. The challenge, the aliens announced, was one of timing, observation, and adaptation. Grivak, the tall, blue-skinned alien with multiple arms, stepped forward to address the crowd. "The human pair has surprised us with puzzles and coordination," he said, his voice carrying over the plaza. "But today's task will reveal whether they can truly adapt under pressure. Only those who can think and act together will succeed." Jace tipped his hat. "Sounds like home," he said quietly. Leora nodded. "We can handle it. Just watch and trust each other." The first stage involved crossing a series of floating platforms, each displaying shifting patterns. The platforms rotated, slid, and even briefly disappeared into thin air. Many of the aliens hesitated, overthinking the task or relying on precise calculations. Humans, they assumed, would fail. Jace took a deep breath and stepped onto the first platform. Leora guided him, calling out timing cues and subtle adjustments. Step by step he moved, carefully balancing as the platform shifted beneath him. Their communication was quiet but perfect, an unspoken trust that no alien could replicate. The crowd watched in stunned silence. This human pair moved with a grace and confidence that seemed almost impossible. Every motion was deliberate, every decision quick and precise. "They are coordinated," muttered one of the alien spectators. "It's like they can anticipate each other's thoughts." "They trust each other," another replied. That is something we cannot measure. As Jace reached the halfway point, a new obstacle appeared. A series of platforms began rotating at different speeds, some in opposite directions. Many aliens faltered, slipping or pausing in confusion. Jace did not. He paused for a brief moment, letting Leora calculate the rhythm. Then, with a confident step, he moved across the spinning discs, perfectly synchronized with her guidance. "You're amazing," Leora said softly. "We make a good team," Jace replied with a smile. Suddenly, a loud rumble shook the plaza. The ground trembled beneath the floating platforms and a strange vibration ran through the air. Some aliens panicked, moving quickly to safety. Others froze, unsure of what was happening. Jace instinctively placed a protective hand on Leora's hover platform. "Stay calm," he said. "We'll figure this out together." The source of the disturbance became clear. A massive energy storm had formed on the horizon, sending gusts of wind and sudden pulses of light across the city. Some floating platforms began to drift unpredictably. The crowd gasped, uncertain how to respond. This is beyond the challenge," one alien shouted. Jace smiled faintly. "Then it's just another puzzle," he said, "and we're good at puzzles." He listened to Leora's calm instructions, which guided him across the shifting platforms as the storm intensified. Other participants struggled, but the humans adapted quickly, moving with the unpredictable rhythm of the platforms. Step by step, they advanced, never faltering, never losing focus. The aliens began to murmur among themselves. "Humans, they are different," one whispered. "They don't just react, they anticipate." "Exactly," Grivek said, his voice low. "They are showing something we cannot calculate." As Jace reached the final platform, a new challenge appeared. A holographic wall projected complex symbols that needed to be aligned in a specific sequence to open the next passage. Many aliens paused, studying the symbols with confusion. Jace stepped forward, letting Leora guide him. "Look for the patterns," she said. "Think like the symbols are part of a story. Don't overthink it." Jace's eyes narrowed. He moved quickly, adjusting the holographic pieces with precision. Each symbol clicked into place, forming a sequence that pulsed with light. The wall shimmered and then disappeared, revealing a clear path forward. The crowd erupted in quiet applause, though some were still skeptical. Leora smiled at Jace. "They're starting to notice something," she said. "Yes," he replied. "They're starting to see what humans can do." The final part of the challenge involved cooperation under changing conditions. A series of floating orbs hovered above a platform, each containing an energy field that shifted in color and intensity. Participants had to move the orbs into alignment, creating a pattern that matched a holographic template. Jace and Leora approached the orbs cautiously. Leora analyzed the energy fields, calling out adjustments as Jace moved each orb into place. The other participants struggled, often moving too quickly or relying on brute force. The humans, however, moved with care, precision, and intuition. Step by step, the pattern emerged. The energy fields aligned perfectly, forming a glowing symbol that pulsed across the plaza. The crowd gasped, even the skeptical ones. "They did it," one alien whispered. "No one else could have managed that with such finesse." "They are remarkable," another said. Grivek stepped forward, his multiple arms folding in an expression of reluctant admiration. "You have surpassed expectations, Human Whitman," he said. "Your adaptability is impressive." Jace tipped his hat. "Thank you," he said simply. "We just work together and trust each other, that's all." As they moved to leave the platform, Leora looked at the crowd. "Do you think they understand yet?" she asked. "Some of them," Jace replied. "Others, they're learning. That's enough for now." The day ended with the humans walking through the plaza, their presence commanding quiet respect. Aliens no longer whispered mockery. Instead, they discussed the humans' skill, their teamwork, and their calm under pressure. That night, as the city slept under the twin moons, Jace and Leora reflected on the day's events. "You know," Leora said, her voice soft. They are starting to see humans differently. Not weak, not fragile, capable. Yes, Jace replied, looking out over the glowing towers. And tomorrow we'll show them even more. Humans aren't just survivors. We adapt, we solve, we rise above. They sat quietly for a moment, the hum of the city around them. The challenge had revealed something unexpected. Humans, with their creativity, intuition, and teamwork, could succeed where even the most advanced technology failed. And together, Jace and Leora were unstoppable. As the stars reflected off the crystalline towers, the city of Virlia slowly began to change its view of the rare human visitors. No longer were they seen as weak or fragile. They were seen as clever, resilient, and capable of facing even the unpredictable challenges of an alien world. Jace tipped his hat one last time to Leora. "Tomorrow will be harder," he said. "I'm ready," she replied. "With you, I'm always ready." And with that, the humans rested, knowing that the turning point had arrived. They had shown the aliens that true strength was not measured in power or speed alone, but in patience, intelligence, adaptability, and unwavering trust. Tomorrow, the next challenge would begin, and the humans would rise higher than ever before. The next morning on Virlia, the city was alive with energy. The twin moons, still faintly visible in the sky, cast a soft silver light over the crystalline towers. Citizens from across the planet gathered in the Grand Plaza, eager to see what the human couple would accomplish today. The plaza was larger than ever, filled with floating platforms, holographic obstacles, and intricate puzzles designed to challenge mind and body. Jace Whitman adjusted his hat and checked Leora's hover platform. "Ready?" he asked. Leora smiled, her eyes gleaming. "Always. Let's show them what humans can do." Today's challenge was different. The aliens announced it as the Uplift, a test not only of skill and coordination, but of vision, creativity, and the ability to inspire. The final task would culminate in a symbolic act, lifting one participant above the crowd, demonstrating teamwork, trust, and ingenuity. The crowd buzzed with anticipation. Aliens whispered among themselves. Some were curious, others skeptical, still trying to reconcile the humans' previous successes with their expectations. Grivak, standing at the podium, raised his multiple arms. "Humans," he said, "today's challenge is a true test. Only those who can combine strength, intelligence, and vision will succeed. You must not only overcome obstacles, you must rise above them." Jace smiled faintly. "Rising above, I like that," he murmured. Leora nodded, her hands resting lightly on the hover platform controls. The first part of the challenge involved balance and coordination. Floating platforms rotated and shifted, and participants had to move from one to the next while holding a partner. Jace stepped onto the first platform, his boots steady, his eyes focused. Leora's voice guided him, soft but precise. "Step lightly, now shift to the left, hold for 2 seconds," she said. Step by step, they moved across the platforms. Many aliens hesitated, unsure of how to move together in perfect synchrony. Jace and Leora, however, moved as one. Their communication was flawless, their trust complete. Even when a platform tilted unexpectedly, Jace adjusted without hesitation, keeping Leora steady. The crowd gasped, murmurs spread quickly. "They are connected," one alien whispered. "Not just physically, they understand each other." "Exactly," another said. "That is something no technology can replicate." Next came the puzzle of patterns. Holographic symbols floated above a series of platforms, changing constantly. Participants had to arrange the symbols in the correct sequence to unlock the next path. Many aliens relied on speed and brute calculation. Jace, however, paused to observe. "Look for the rhythm," he told Leora. "Patterns aren't just shapes, they're stories." Leora's hands moved over her controls, guiding him with subtle directions. Step by step, they aligned the symbols. Each click and adjustment brought the puzzle closer to completion. Finally, the symbols glowed and a path opened for them. The crowd erupted not in mockery but in awe. Some aliens whispered, "They are extraordinary." Others looked stunned, unable to hide their admiration. The final part of the uplift was the symbolic test, lifting one participant above everyone else. A large platform hovered above the plaza, accessible only by solving a complex series of smaller tasks along the way. The goal was not just physical, it required timing, cooperation, and imagination. Jace and Leora approached the first task. A series of floating rings hung above the ground. Participants had to pass through the rings while keeping balance and adjusting their positions. Many aliens fell behind, struggling with timing and coordination. Jace moved with careful precision, Leora guiding him with calm, confident directions. Step by step, they passed through each ring. Step by step, they advanced. Step by step, they amazed the watching crowd. The next stage involved energy beams, ribbons of light that shifted in unpredictable patterns. Touching a beam would reset progress, though harmlessly. Many aliens attempted complex calculations, predicting the beam's paths. Jace shook his head. "Too complicated," he muttered. "We'll move with them instead." With Leora's guidance, they flowed with the beams. They twisted, shifted, and timed their steps perfectly. The holographic beams became part of their rhythm, no longer obstacles but a dance. The crowd gasped. Even Grivak's many eyes widened in surprise. "They are moving with the energy," he whispered. Finally, they reached the base of the uplift platform. It hovered several meters above the plaza, glowing softly with pulsing light. Participants were expected to find a way to lift one member safely above everyone else. Many aliens had attempted, relying on machinery or brute force, but all had failed. Jace looked at Leora. "Are you ready?" he asked. She nodded, smiling. "Ready." Using a combination of her hover platform, his strength, and careful balance, they devised a plan. Leora adjusted her hover controls to rise slowly. Jace guided the platform, ensuring stability. Step by step, they lifted her higher, steadily above the crowd. The plaza fell silent. Every eye was fixed on the human couple. Leora rose higher, her smile radiant, her posture confident. She was above everyone else, not by force but by teamwork, ingenuity, and trust. The aliens whispered among themselves. "No one has ever done it like that," one said. "They didn't rely on machines, they used their minds, their hearts, their partnership." The crowd erupted into applause, a mixture of admiration and amazement. Even Grivak stepped forward, folding his arms in respect. "Human Whitman," he said, "you and your companion have shown what true strength is. Not just muscle or calculation, but trust, cooperation, and courage. You have lifted not only yourselves but the spirit of this plaza." Jace tipped his hat, a modest smile on his face. "We just work together," he said softly. "That's all humans do. We face challenges and we rise together." Leora's eyes scanned the crowd. "Do you see?" she said softly. "We can accomplish more when we trust and help each other. That's what humans bring to the table." Indeed, the plaza seemed transformed. Aliens no longer whispered doubt or mockery. Instead, they spoke in admiration. Humans were unpredictable, clever, resilient, and their connection, Jace and Leora's partnership, was inspiring. As the sun dipped low behind the towers, the humans slowly descended from the uplift platform. The crowd continued to cheer, not for spectacle but for the message it represented. Strength is not just physical, intelligence is not just calculation, and courage is not just bravery. True power lies in cooperation, ingenuity, and trust. Jace helped Leora back onto her hover platform. She laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We did it," she said. "Yes," Jace replied, looking around at the silent, respectful crowd. "And tomorrow we will show them even more. Humans don't just survive. We adapt, we inspire, we lift each other higher." The twin moons reflected in the crystalline towers as the city slowly emptied. For the first time, humans had not only met the challenge, they had transformed it. Their ingenuity, teamwork, and unbreakable bond had changed the way the aliens saw them forever. That night, Jace and Leora walked through the quiet streets, their hover platform gliding smoothly beneath her. "Do you think they'll ever fully understand humans?" Leora asked. "Maybe not fully," Jace replied, "but they've learned something important. Humans can rise above expectations, above challenges, and even above those who doubt them." Leora smiled. "Then let's keep rising." "Yes," Jace said, tipping his hat. "We rise together. And no one can stop that." As they moved through the glowing city, the stars twinkling above and the towers reflecting the soft moonlight, it was clear to all who watched. Humans were not merely visitors to this alien world. They were remarkable, capable of achieving what others deemed impossible, and their spirit would not be forgotten. Tomorrow would bring the final challenge. But tonight, Jace and Leora had already lifted themselves, and the hearts of those around them, higher than anyone thought possible. The sun rose slowly over Virlia, painting the city in shades of gold and purple. The twin moons, faint but still visible, hovered in the sky, casting a gentle silver glow across the crystalline towers. The city had changed since the arrival of Jace, Whitman, and Leora. Whispers of admiration replaced mockery, and curiosity had grown into respect. Today was the final challenge, the culmination of the contest. Citizens and participants from across the planet gathered in the Grand Plaza, eager to witness the humans' next achievement. Floating platforms hovered above the ground, more intricate and complex than any before. Holographic puzzles shimmered in the air, and the energy beams from yesterday now formed a maze of color and light. Jace adjusted the brim of his hat and glanced at Leora. "Ready for the final round?" he asked. Leora's eyes sparkled with determination. "We've come this far. Let's finish it together." The crowd hushed as Grivek stepped forward, his multiple arms folded in anticipation. "Today," he announced, "the challenge will test all that you have learned: intelligence, balance, creativity, and the ability to inspire. Only those who rise above expectation may succeed." Jace tipped his hat. "We don't just rise, we lift others along the way," he said softly to Leora. The first task involved navigating a maze of harmony. Floating platforms shifted unpredictably, some appearing and disappearing, others spinning in complex patterns. Participants had to reach the center without touching the ground. Many aliens hesitated, unsure how to adapt to the constantly changing paths. Jace moved carefully, letting Leora guide him with subtle, precise directions. "Shift left, hold, now step forward," she said. Step by step, they progressed. Platforms that had seemed impossible to cross became part of their rhythm. Other participants struggled, overthinking each movement. The humans, however, relied on observation, instinct, and trust in each other. The crowd watched in awe. Murmurs spread quickly. "They move like one being," one alien whispered. "Their connection, it is extraordinary." "They are showing us something we cannot measure," another replied. At the center of the maze was a holographic puzzle floating high above the platform. Shapes and symbols rotated constantly, forming a complex sequence. The task required solving it to unlock the next stage. Jace observed the patterns carefully. "These aren't just symbols," he said. "They tell a story. We need to follow it, not just copy it." Leora's hands moved deftly over her controls. Together, they solved the puzzle step by step. The symbols clicked into place, glowing brighter with each correct adjustment. The wall of light shimmered and opened, revealing the next path. The crowd gasped. Aliens whispered in amazement. Humans, they realized, approached challenges differently, not blindly calculating, but understanding, adapting, and seeing patterns others missed. The next stage involved energy bridges, a network of floating light ribbons that required perfect timing to cross. Many aliens attempted to rush, misjudging the movement of the beams. Jace shook his head. "Patience, Leora. We move with them, not against them." Leora smiled and guided him step by step. They shifted, timed their steps, and flowed across the bridges with effortless coordination. Each move was deliberate yet natural. By the time they reached the other side, the crowd was silent, staring at the humans in wonder. Even Grivek's eyes widened. "No one has crossed like that," he admitted. "They anticipate, adapt, and they move as one." The final test was the most symbolic, the lift of unity. At the center of the plaza, a massive platform hovered high above the ground. The task required lifting one participant above all others, not with strength alone, but through trust, ingenuity, and teamwork. Many had tried before using machines, energy harnessing, or brute force, but none had succeeded. Jace looked at Leora. "This is it," he said. "Together," she replied. They carefully approached the platform. Leora adjusted her hover controls, preparing to rise. Jace stabilized the platform with careful balance. Slowly, step by step, she began to ascend. The crowd watched in silence, their eyes wide with anticipation. The platform hovered higher and higher, rising above the plaza, above the crowd, above the tallest towers. Leora's posture was proud and confident. She was safe, balanced, and steady. The aliens whispered, amazed at what humans had achieved. "She's above everyone," one alien murmured. "And yet there's no machinery, no trick, just trust and skill." "Exactly," another said. "Humans can see possibilities where we only see limits." Higher and higher, Leora rose, her hover platform moving with precision. Jace adjusted her balance, guiding her steadily, while she gave instructions to ensure perfect stability. Together, they demonstrated not just skill, but the strength of partnership. The crowd erupted in applause, not loud, brash cheering, but a deep, sincere acknowledgement. Humans had done something that no one else could do, rise above with grace, intelligence, and trust. Grivek stepped forward, folding his multiple arms in a gesture of respect. "Whitman, you and your companion have shown what true strength is. Not mere power, not mere speed, but unity, ingenuity, and courage. You have lifted not just yourselves, but the spirit of this plaza." Jace tipped his hat. "We just work together," he said simply. "Humans do that, face challenges, adapt, and lift each other up." Leora looked out over the crowd. "Strength isn't just about muscle. Intelligence, trust, and cooperation are just as powerful. That's what humans bring." The plaza seemed transformed. Aliens whispered, pointing to the humans in admiration. Humans were clever, resilient, and capable of things no one had expected. And it was clear that the partnership between Jace and Leora, trusting, cooperative, and unwavering, was the true key to their success. As Leora slowly descended, the platform touching down with gentle precision, the crowd's applause continued. Humans had completed the contest in a way no one could have predicted. They had not just met the challenges, they had exceeded them, demonstrating qualities that no alien technology could replicate. Jace helped Leora back onto her hover platform. She laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes on a calm day. "We did it," she said. "Yes," Jace replied. "And we've shown them what humans are capable of, not just surviving but thriving, rising above and lifting others along the way." The plaza emptied slowly, but the whispers followed them wherever they went. Aliens talked about humans differently now, not as fragile, weak, or insignificant, but as capable, intelligent, and inspiring. That evening, as the twin moons reflected off the crystalline towers, Jace and Leora walked through the quiet streets. The city had changed, and so had the way humans were seen. "Do you think they understand humans now?" Leora asked softly. "Some of them," Jace replied. "Others will learn in time, but we've shown enough. Humans adapt, we rise above challenges, and we lift each other higher. That's what makes us strong," Leora smiled. "Then let's keep lifting." "Yes," Jace said, tipping his hat. "Together." As they glided through the glowing streets, it was clear that their journey had inspired everyone who had watched. Humans were no longer just rare visitors. They were extraordinary, capable of achieving the impossible, and their spirit would not be forgotten. The contest had ended. The humans had triumphed, but the true victory was deeper than any prize or recognition. They had shown that true strength lay in cooperation, ingenuity, and unwavering trust. And in doing so, they had lifted not only themselves, but the hearts of all who had witnessed their journey. Jace and Leora paused at the edge of the plaza, looking out over the city. The towers glimmered in the moonlight and the streets were quiet, filled with the sense of possibility. "We've done more than win," Leora said. "We've shown them what it means to rise above." "Yes," Jace agreed, "and we'll keep rising together." The twin moons shone brightly overhead, reflecting in the crystal towers and the still waters of the plaza. For the first time, humans had not only proven themselves, they had inspired an entire world to see the power of courage, intelligence, and partnership. And so, under the twin moons of Virlia, Jace Whitman and Leora floated above the city, not as spectators or visitors, but as symbols of what humans could achieve. The ability to rise above doubt, challenge, and expectation, lifting themselves, and everyone around them, toward greatness.